All right, welcome everybody to week 5 of Fab Feb, our last week. You've made it this far. This is another week that I am really looking forward to. I feel like they say that about everyone, but I want you to have your workbook, okay? Have your workbook with you. We're really going to be starting on technically it's page 30, okay? 29 and 30. And then the oil that I would recommend that you have is jasmine. And if you don't have jasmine, you could use pink pepper or Siberian fir or even yarrow. Please turn that off. Thank you very much. Yarrow palm. So the reason I picked these oils is because the word that describes like the emotion behind these oils is bold. And it says an energized feeling or expression of confidence, includes clarity of mind and decisiveness of action. And the phrase is, I am ready to boldly act on what I know. So put on your jasmine. If you don't have jasmine, pretend you're putting it on, or grab pink pepper, Siberian fir, yarrow palm. And I think that's really, you might not be feeling super energized by Sunday night at the end of a 5-week series, but hopefully you are on some level when you think about some of the things that we've accomplished together in our time. That you feel more confident maybe in what this looks like and different ways to go about it, new tools in your tool belt, and maybe even some clarity, maybe clarity that's still coming, but that clarity would be helpful for you in moving forward in action, okay? I have recorded who completed the homework. Okay, hold on. I've got Sonia, homework from last week. Sonia, Jerry, Lisa, Meg, Kelsey, Dee. If I'm missing you, let me know. Probably not in the chat box because I'll miss it. Just kidding. Oh yeah, Emily. Yes, thank you, Em. Okay, so I wanted to say that. Okay, I actually want to do something a little bit different this week, and I want to take a little bit of time for testimonies. Like wins. In the past, we've called this wins, but there are people on this call who are implementing the things we're learning in different ways, but they're having successes, right? We're having successes in what's happening. So if you want to unmute yourself and share some wins you're having or some things that you're experiencing as you implement what we're learning, that would be great. You can put in the chat box too. But. And you should share first.
Okay, I'll go. So I taught my first and only back to basics class so far to a woman who's a current customer of mine. So with the way it was all set up, I didn't have time to do the sampling in advance. But I use the hostess, who's an oils customer, as the testimonials part. So I gave her a heads up, like, hey, can you talk about, what you like about your oils? And she did. And that was like really impactful. It's like silly that I hadn't really done that before. But watching somebody, to see them watch her, somebody who's not me, someone who they know, like, and trust, talking about all the different oils that she likes and how they've made a difference, was really impactful. I did change a few things, but honestly, I kept it pretty true to.
I was watching her. She stayed pretty true, because I was going to just start yelling if you strayed from the outline. Just
Amy in the back row, stick to the outline.
Get a grip.
No, but it's actually really good. I think it makes it made a lot of sense to people. I think I was like, having seen it at Lisa Hacker's class, and then again at the class that I taught, people like losing their minds with excitement to get these little drams of oil. It was so funny to me. I would have never believed it if I hadn't seen it. Like, it's like these dinky little things with 10 drops of oil, and people are just like, oh, I got one. And so I don't think I would have like fully believed that if I hadn't seen it for myself. But it was good. It was honestly my most successful class ever. And so, obviously I don't have like a ton of experience with this. I've only done one, but I could see it resonate with people, and was like simpler than the way I was doing it.
Thanks, that's perfect. I know Lisa doesn't want to share, so I'm not going to make her unmute herself. I'll give you one last chance. Would you share just Impromptu? No, I feel like we should cheer for her. We're sending you a big hug. And then because Emily was the only person at your class that's on this call, I have to ask her to keep talking and tell about your experience because it was a great one.
I can totally do that. So Lisa was a total rock star. Like both of us, because Lisa did this class before we even talked about the outline for the Fab Feb. Like Lisa watched Amy's video that she did when you were still in Salt Lake City. We hadn't even gone over this in the Fab Feb, and she just like used the outline and rewrote a few things, but like stayed pretty true with it. So she like rocked it. And it's the same thing. People were like so excited to get the samples and try the different things, and they were like really excited by the end. So Lisa gets extra points because she didn't even like get to go through the Fab Feb call first. Like I had that to see that first. But yeah, it was really great. She had 2 enrollments that night. And so like people were super excited by it. It was an awesome class. Super awesome.
Thank you, Em. And I apparently should have checked my email closer to when we hopped on the call because Lisa did send me a written sharing about what she experienced. And she also talked about she had a follow-up appointment this week. And she said it was super helpful to have her laptop. They logged in. She showed her how to use LRP by actually setting it up for her. And she walked away with items in her LRP. She said that this is different from what she typically experiences. So it was a nice way to be able to do it. The Live Guide was a great tool. And she still used the Google Doc template as well. So, yeah, thank you, Lisa. Lisa's done it. Lisa's like, must be an activator. She's like, I'm just going to go get it done. So I think kudos to her. Laura Whipperman shared a really good one. She has 2 classes this week. Sampling went so well. Sampling led to sampling, led to sampling, which is amazing. Isn't that true? Kind of how that happens when you open up that's awesome. Anybody else have anything they want to share? Anything that they've experienced? Mom, do you want to tell about the class on Saturday?
Oh, wow. We did. I've been like MIA, and we've been doing a girl power series, which was mothers and daughters. And I've been like out to lunch. I haven't been to one yet. And we did it together on Saturday, but I did the intro. Amy did the teaching. We had 8 adults, 5 kids. And we had 2 enrollments, and Amy did the outline, and she was like, oh, I don't really like the way I did it. And I'm like, my rule is if somebody in the room says, that was a slam dunk, you need to accept it, because I think we're all really hard on ourselves, and people just really loved it. And there were existing customers there and new customers there. And so it's always kind of interesting when you're juggling that, but the people that were existing customers felt really cared for, and they learned when Amy asked people around the table to share. We had 2 tables going, but like, hey, here's a bottle of On Guard. This is what we use it for, but for those of you who use oils currently, what do you use your On Guard for? And there were some amazing testimonies shared. And I just thought the whole thing was honestly, it was fun. And like, how often do you come away from something thinking, that was really fun, I'm glad I'm doing what I'm doing? Sorry, just had to be honest.
We've brought some fresh life back into it. Laura Whipperman, everyone wants you to share more.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So the first week when you assigned the sampling 5 people, I contacted 7 because I thought maybe out of the 7, 5 would say yes. Well, all 7 wanted samples, and all 7 had really amazing results with their oils and are excited to come to classes this week. And then so the next week I contacted 5 more, and all 5 wanted samples, and 4 out of the 5 had an amazing oil experience. So I've got classes next week too, and it's just super exciting.
That's amazing. Thank you. That was perfect, right? Yeah, I just find that people are excited about the sampling, and then they have a good experience because we've learned a little bit more on following up. And yeah, Laura Whip killing it. Agreed. I was able to have like an enrollment from the beginning of the sampling process, right? It was a little more drawn out, but we did a one-on-one, not a class with her, and she enrolled, and I enjoyed the process, and I think she did too. That's a really good question. Laura, what do you want to answer that from sound? Where are you finding the people since you've been doing the business for so long?
Well, believe it or not, there's still people that I've never approached about oils. And I made another names list. It was a fresh 100 names list. So people that I didn't have on any previous names lists. And like some people, I didn't know their name. It's like that person at the bank, you know, that cashier at Quick Trip and stuff like that. But, and there's some people from church, and I've always been kind of timid about approaching people at church because there's other people who did doTERRA at our church, and I didn't want to step on toes, but I decided I'm going for it. I'm going to approach people at church too. So there's just a whole area of people that I haven't ever approached.
That's amazing. I love that. That lady at the bank. Yeah, Laura Witt, I think you should probably teach the class. At some, Heidi wants you to share your verbiage for sampling.
Well, I have to give kudos to Melissa, because what you said in week 1 was just, that nailed it. I've had so many people in the past when I talked about sampling who, and I would ask about their health concerns, they would say, I don't have any health concerns, or I can't think of any. And when you said, Melissa, ask people if you could wake up tomorrow feeling differently, what 1 or 2 things would you change? And that did it. I believe that's the reason I'm getting people so excited about samples and successes.
That's amazing. That is a really good one. I've had other people say that that line was really helpful too. Good. Any other testimonies? Any other things that people want to share? Okay. Thank you to everybody who shared. I think that's really great. Yeah, there are good things happening, and I think it's good to remind ourselves of that, because I know this has been a lot of work to kind of rethink all of these things. I know that. Okay. Continuing education is our topic for today. Doesn't sound fun, but I think it is. Let's talk about this for a minute. Can we talk about what are some continuing education things that you already do, that we already do? What are some things that come to mind? You can put them in the chat box. You can unmute yourself. It doesn't matter. But what are some things going on, do you think? Oil camp. Monthly calls. Yep. Perfect. Two things. Nailing it. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Meeting at 30 days, 60 days. Yeah. So some of us are individually doing things with their people. Yes, that all counts, right? Open houses. Absolutely. Things like that. Yes. So can we all agree that there are already like continuing education things going on? Facebook group, yeah, Testimonial Tuesday, things like that, right? Already things going on. So these are all good things. I love these things. This is a puzzle piece that we're looking at that I think that we can maybe look at a little bit differently, or maybe shave off some of the fuzzy edges. But I just want to be clear that I'm not throwing out what we're already doing. I just want to talk about a really basic model of continuing education that anyone can do that gets us all rowing in the same direction. And then it's super duplicatable, okay? So again, I'm not asking you to stop what you're doing. I'm asking you to consider the simplicity of this continuing education model. Is that fair? Okay. Why can we talk for a minute? I'm going to get on my soapbox for a minute. Can you all forgive me? This is the last week that you have to listen to me on my soapbox. Why is continuing education so important? And I'm actually not even going to let you answer it. I'm just kidding, but I'm not. I mean, you can, of course, answer in the chat box. But okay, so on some level, we all get this. We're like, yes, of course, continuing education is important. But I know that there are some people who maybe don't realize it, but that just simply aren't willing to put in the work on this, because continuing education is, you have to put effort in to continually educate your people. And what I keep coming back to is that we promise them, like I think everyone on this call promises, that we will help them with their oils and that we will care for them. And I know you want to serve them. And I'm sorry if this is harsh. I don't mean to start off the call harsh, but if you're not helping your people with continuing education, you're not really following through on that promise. Continuing education cannot be accomplished in one singular follow-up appointment, or even two, you know, if you break it up into two. If you're not following through with continuing education, that promise that they wouldn't have oils in their cabinet or drawer, you know, unopened and unused, they're sitting there unopened and unused. And yes, there are people that are hard to help. And I have people on my tree that, my team that I haven't done this perfectly with. I'm not saying this because I've done this perfectly. I'm saying this because we need to work our absolute hardest to make sure that this doesn't happen, that people don't have oils that they don't know how to use. I think we can all remember what it was like to have implement oils into our lifestyle. It was a process. It took time. We attended lots of classes. We watched lots of things. It took time, and we need to be able to do that consistently for our people. We need to show up and be committed. So you might start to think, as I start to talk here, like, Amy, that sounds like a lot of work. And this is the line of the night. This should not be repeated. I would say don't bother enrolling people if you're not gonna help them with continuing education, because I think they would probably be served better elsewhere where there would be continuing education. And I just feel like that's the culture of our team. That's what we offer. So again, I don't mean to be like big mean Amy, but I just think that there's some truth in that. So let's think about where we are in continuing education is what we really bring up at the end of the wellness consult. That's where we are in the process. That's where we left off last week. We're at the end of the wellness consult. And I love this analogy. Do you know where you are at the end of the wellness consult? You've done all that work. You have dropped off or mailed a sample, talked to them, waited, they didn't pick up. You've sent a voicemail, you texted them, you've gone back and forth. They finally picked up. They liked the experience. They came to a class. Or you set up a one-on-one, you set up your follow-up point. How much work have you put in? You are at the 2-yard line. You are in a football game. You are 2 yards from the end zone. And this is where so many people forfeit the game. We walk away. We just walk away. And they are at the 2-yard line, and we walk away from that customer when we don't offer anything beyond that follow-up appointment. We need to walk customers into the end zone. We need to take them from the 2-yard line into the end zone, into a lifestyle of doTERRA, because that's truly what's transformative. 1 drop of On Guard when I have a sore throat is not nearly as transformative as daily use that uplifts my mood, changes my digestive system, keeps my immune system balanced, all the things, right? And this is what happens at continuing education classes. This is about using their products. This is about learning more about what doTERRA has to offer, helping them with LRP. It's even more exposures to the business. It's all those things. Okay, so you've done so much. You're at the 2-yard line. It's time to get them into the end zone, help them get it into a lifestyle. Okay, one last thought. And then I'm off my soapbox, and you guys will be so glad. What percentage of people with doTERRA memberships are just users? Do you remember? What's the percentage, my friends? 80, so close, 80, it's higher, 85%. It's 85%, okay? So we have 2 paths in doTERRA, a product path and a business path. 85% of people are on that product path. 85% of your doTERRA check comes from people on the product path. So if you are not offering continuing education, you are forfeiting 85% of your paycheck. Okay, 85% of the people that we're loving on are users, and we need to offer that care. Okay, so anybody have any questions on that? I better take a sip of water, put on some jasmine. The chat box is filled up. I'm afraid to look. Okay, so there is something, if you guys look at actually page 30 in your workbook, I love what they talk about. There's like a box with, it's a rectangle, and it says the goal of continuing education is to help a customer find 4 or 5 products they'll never want to live without. We all have those in our life, and it's about helping people understand that for them. So really that's the purpose. That is the purpose of continuing education, is helping them step into that. So the back to basics continuing education model, this is all, I think, really well laid out in your, I may not follow it perfectly. It's really well laid out, I think, in pages 30 to 31. But the bottom line is it's a series of 8 classes. Okay, it's 8 classes that you rotate through. There's a product and a business portion. And you just cycle through over and over again. And actually what it boils down to, I don't know that this Yeah, maybe don't try and follow along too closely in your workbook because you'll be like, what's Amy talking about? But 8 product classes and 4 business classes. So you rotate through those 8 product classes, and you, for one cycle of that, you've done 2 cycles of the business classes. Does that make sense? Okay. So members then are rewarded with invaluable education and a prize. They come with a punch card. They come with a punch card, and you punch it, or you keep it, and some people are keeping them there, so when they come, they don't have to remember to bring them. I don't care, but the idea is you tend all 8, and you get a prize. Doesn't have to be anything big. We'll talk about that. I'm gonna share my screen and show you guys, they've put together these things for us. We don't have to like reinvent the wheel. Like topics, tear pads, PowerPoints, if you want to use a PowerPoint, okay? It's all on there. The punch cards. So the different topics, you can see they're not actually in order, but it's I have my oils, now what, nutrition and supplements, toxic-free living, oils for every age, essential skincare, stress, sleep, and emotions, essential oils. Oh, then is women's health and hormones, and then essential oils and pain management. Each one of these, I think almost all of them have a little Symphony of Cells protocol on them. They're really nice. Here, let's look at one. Which one do we want to look at? I think we want to look at this one. Okay, so they're really well done. They talk through all the products. They can see, I thought there was, oh, they took it off. That's actually my fault, I think. I'm having a hot flash. I actually can't talk about that because I'm being recorded. But anyway, these are all really well done. Okay, so they're there. This is not like a something that I've paid for. You can all have access to this. So I'm actually going to put the link in the chat box. I can put it in our Facebook group when I'm done. Okay, you think it's in the PowerPoint? Okay. Symphony Cells, our protocols are gone. Thanks, Amy Bonnets. Okay, so you honestly, what they're saying is that it's 1 continuing education class a week. Dana Moore was the one who presented out in Salt Lake City, and she's like, 10 a.m. Saturday mornings, that's when we do it. We are at the same place, the same time. Every week they know where to find us, what they can expect, and that's how they do it. So the vision is consistency. I think you would probably understand that. So PDFs, like I showed you, are recommended, the idea of like a tear pad or a handout, because they're the easiest to duplicate, but there are PowerPoints available. You invite customers as soon as they enroll. It's okay if you're on week 3 or week 4 because they're jumping in wherever they are and you're going to start a new cycle. It's not a big deal. And Dana says you invite and remind existing customers over and over and over again. You can text, you can email, Facebook event, personally invite people, teach leaders to personally invite people. You want people to hear about continuing education all the time. They would get the punch card at the wellness consult, or maybe even before, but you get them plugged in. Laura Jacobs, this is brilliant. Laura Jacobs hands them their punch card at the end of the wellness consult and says, because you purchased a kit, you now have $1,000 of free essential oil training. That's what she likens the value of what those 8 classes offer. The question usually comes up, can I bring somebody? And the way it's presented is that this is for members only. So why don't we do this instead? Why don't we host a class, help them get started, and then they can all come? Or why don't I get them a sample? Or why don't we get them to one of these classes first so they understand the basics and then they can come, right? So you want to protect it in a way that feels special for members only, and people will show up. And you know what else? I want to see everybody's face for this. People are going to make sure they're not sharing. People aren't going to share accounts anymore because they want to be at your continuing education classes. You see, that's good, Dana. I like what you did there. But it's true, right? And you're probably thinking like, oh, Amy, that's so sleazy. No. Do you know if somebody shares an account, what they're missing out on? Like, can we really think about what they're missing out on? I'm not even going to bother to make a list. It's a long list of things that they're missing out on. I've had people who have like sat down and tracked out. I've been like, these are the rewards points you just missed out on that person cashed in on. Like, you make your decision, but right, we know that, right? So this deters people from doing that. Shoot, I can't name the Costco. You're right, Em. That's right. Darn straight. Okay. So prizes. We talked about if they go through the whole cycle, get all their, punches on their punch card or whatever, prizes. So what Dana showed, I don't have a graphic for it, sorry, there's like a $12 green air car diffuser, right? Like a basic car diffuser, or some people love diffusers. I know Sonia's been doing this, and I think she has something that she can probably show, maybe she can post in the group. It's like a case, I think a rollerball case. And you know what? She also found Dana found fun supplement cases on Amazon. You can get like a set of 4. It's about $4.50 a person. We're not talking super expensive here. And sometimes she even offers, she has people that does the 8 classes and then does it again. So if they repeat the second cycle, they can get a smaller prize. You know how we laughed about how people go crazy for the little quarter drams? People will go banana crackers, do crazy things for little diffusers and little vitamin cases. Like, they really will. Elise told a really funny story about people like lining, I think she was over in China, and then she was like, I've never been in a room with this many people, and they were like bouncing off the walls, and I couldn't understand a word they were saying, but they were like, the guy was teaching and they were loving it, and then all of a sudden at the end it finished and they got in a line and they all came up and they got their card stamps, and then they got their graduation certificates. They had a graduation ceremony. They started playing music, and they were like walking people across the stage, and it is like a really big deal. And they hang them up on their wall, like, I graduated from the 8. And I don't think, like, we all smile a little bit. There was like a cultural thing that was transpiring there, but she's like, graduate, people go crazy for a little certificate that's like, I completed this, right? So it can be a certificate of completion. My mom and I have talked about, can people sign the wall or sign something inside of Superior Street Wellness? Like, you finish 8 classes, you get to sign the wall, right? Like, I don't think this has to be some super expensive thing, okay? So location, we talked about using the same location. It is okay to pay for it, but you really can, I think, find a place for free. Libraries, churches, you're not selling anything, so it's easier to say to a library or church, can I come do this? Grocery stores typically have spaces, especially if you're in a bigger area, where you can teach. Chiropractors, like, think outside the box. They say pick a day and a time and stay consistent. Yeah, I hope that makes sense on location. So the content, I showed you all of that. And then the business topics, those PDFs are still coming. I don't know why I can't find them, but those are really simple. They're not overwhelming. It's like getting started, so making a names list, sampling, inviting. Number 2 is compensation plan. 3 is how to teach an essential oil class, and 4 is elite in 6 weeks. So those are the 4 that you would cycle through. The whole business thing, so what you do is, obviously they're there and they're already there at the class. So you don't send them home and say, come back for business training. You say, like, how we talked about in the class, like, we've got the treats, but we don't bring them out until the end. So people will stay for the treats and they'll hear a little bit of what you're sharing, is the idea. And that's like additional exposures, right, to what we offer. And I think that Dana said this really well, because nothing about the business presentations here with the continuing education are complicated. They're very simple. And she said, sometimes I think we forget how, like, little things can change people's lives, like making a car payment, or, paying for your oils, or having a little extra here or there. Like, everyone can relate to the stress of a financial burden. So when it's relieved, it's important to be able to share that. Sometimes that's like a big thing. Sometimes it's a small thing. So what you'll notice is in the business portion, it's just like in the class where people share product testimonials, you and other WAs would share like your business testimonial in a concise way. And so that's a really powerful way to be able to connect with people too. Questions so far? That's a lot of information. How we all holding up? I should check the chat. Oh, okay. There is a punch card, Laura Whip. I know I have to figure out where I can get my hands on it. But it's somewhere. Okay, so let's talk about teaching online. So some of you are thinking, Like, I have customers all over, you know, how does this work? What does that look like? Which is a really legitimate concern. So I'm still like thinking this through. So the whole thing, this is where it gets complex. People are not going to leave their house on a Saturday morning if they know that you're just broadcasting it over Zoom or Skype, right? Like, they're going to do it online. And it's different to be, we all know, like, this is great, this is beautiful. It's different to be face to face. We guys know that. Like, this doesn't totally replace that. And so online is a little bit tricky. You would do it in addition, and you would invite more selectively. So like, you wouldn't say to your local people like, oh, just hop on this call. The recommendation is to invite personal people that are like 25 miles or, you know, away and further. You would use Zoom. You would require registration so you could see who was attending. And you could still offer incentives for completion. You could still do those things. So yeah, the online thing is a little bit trickier, but hopefully that helps you kind of think a little bit like, oh, I can still do it. I just have to be, you have to be selective in how you're offering it, because it could really take away from what you're offering locally. Some other tips they gave for your local classes, to email your customers the PDF the day before the class, like get them a little excited, ready to come. Like, if I saw some of those PDFs, I would want to come to the class for sure. And the other tip that Dana said, if you are going to do it online, it requires more energy for engagement. Make it fun, tell stories, keep them engaged. It's going to have a different flavor to what you're offering. We all know this, guys. Nobody's going to come to continuing education classes without personal invitations. Okay. She says, you post it on Facebook, might as well shoot it into the universe and hope it lands on Mars. I was like, best line I've ever heard. It's so true. When you personally invite people, it makes them feel important. It makes them feel thought of. People are not bothered by you caring for them. They are excited to come and to be seen and to be cared for. The graduation thing, she revisited, just said it's really just remarkable how much people love it, and people feel really accomplished. And it's really good on the graduation or whatever to have as many WAs there as possible to really reinforce excitement. Like, they literally play music and like just totally celebrate them.
Did you say that they have their framed certificates on their walls in their offices? Did I miss that? Was I misbehaving?
Well, I don't know where you were, but yeah, I thought I said that. Did I say that? Give me a nod or a thumbs up.
But oh my gosh, I still am thinking about their certificates from Elise Genevieve on the wall, printed on skinny little.
Oh, that's right. She had to sign them all. So they all then shuffled over to her, and she had to sign like all 500 of them. And she was like, what is going on? And then take a picture. They were like, just go up there and hand it to them and smile. So all the fun things. Okay, what other questions do we have about continuing education? If you want to do topics outside, the reason that these 8 are picked, and you can see that on page 31, they address it. You know, there are all sorts of classes, chakras, back to school, oils of the Bible. Sonia does an amazing oils of the Bible class, all those kinds of things. But these topics picked are the main topics that have proven to really engage people well in the doTERRA lifestyle. So that's just part of the reasoning behind that, in case anybody was wondering. Could you imagine, like, if we were able to, on some level, do this, like have different and like that people could come? Could you imagine like the impact that would have on our customer culture and our customer care? Like, what that would really, it gets me excited. Maybe I like continuing education too much. So in summary, I kind of want to wrap this up a little bit, and I want to say, I realize not all of you are ready to commit every Saturday at 10 a.m. in the morning to teach a continuing education class. I know you wouldn't regret it if you did, if you made that sacrifice, if you put yourself out there in that way. I just know that not all of you might be there. So here's like, it can't be all or nothing. I need you to do what you can do. I need you to do something. And do you guys want to know what the bare minimum is? I'm going to tell you what the bare minimum is. We do monthly calls that are so stinking fun and that customers love. So once a month, you invite people to that call. It already exists. You didn't even have to leave your house. You just had to like mark out some time and contact people and personally invite them to this. And that's the kind of thing that at the very least, you need to be making sure that you are inviting your people to those monthly online calls. I think it's really good to reach out and ask for permission. Maybe for some people you don't have to do that, but it would be like, hey, we do really fun, short online calls once a month to teach people about using their oils. And we have giveaways. Do you want me to keep you in the loop? I know you'd really love them. And people are going to say yes. And there you have your permission to keep them in the loop without feeling like you're bothering them month after month, okay? And please do not be afraid to use, remember, I'm going to put in the chat again, our all of our 2020 online calls are at this link. So this is a great way. And so this monthly call is a little bit different because we have made it open to the public, right? It doesn't follow the exact same structure. We don't talk about the business, but it is continuing education, and it does help people use their oils and helps them understand the lifestyle. And so that's like the bare minimum. But I think we all know, again, that there's nothing that can make up for face-to-face time with people. So I would encourage you to move a little bit past the bare minimum. Maybe that's a continuing education class once a month. Maybe that's putting on your clothes on a Saturday morning and attending one that somebody else in your area is doing and bringing your customers along. Maybe that's keeping a really close eye on doTERRA's calendar if you live in a big city and figuring out when you can take people to doTERRA's events that are in your area. Like, these are the kinds of things that are like, you don't have to then like reinvent this wheel if you're not there yet, but you can utilize the things that are already happening because there are things already happening. How are we all feeling about that? You got a thumbs up. Okay, so now I have a question for you. I'm gonna stop talking for a minute. It can be on this week 5, actually. I'm asking this question in regards to our entire time together, so we can kind of pull back out of the treetops of continuing education into the big forest. What are some takeaways? What are some things that you're taking away? What is one thing that you're taking away from our time together in Fab Feb? What is one thing that you're excited to implement? Let's talk about that a little bit. Sampling is good. I like it. Consistency is good. Yeah. Importance of sampling. What was sampling? We are loving this. I love getting samples into people's hands. That's where it starts, guys. It starts with the samples. Keep on touching people. Yeah. Good. What other things? What are some other takeaways? I loved the class aspect. We're bringing some things back, right? We're bringing some, do you guys feel like we brought some missing puzzle pieces back? Do you feel like your puzzle looks a little bit better? You know, I'm not going for perfection. We're realistic, but I hope it feel like it looks a little bit better. Good. So we've got some things that we're already implementing. We have things that we're excited to implement. If you keep sampling and, oh, this phrase is going to irritate people, but having people in that pipeline, right? Like, you know, if you keep that process going, there's going to be great fruit from that. There's going to be conversations, things will, so like have grace for yourself, like be like, let's just like really like work on this and then like get some things on the calendar and maybe have a class, or like, okay, I still need to work on one-on-ones, right? Like my local population isn't to a class yet. You know, like you can work with this, but keep going. The class format is less intimidating. Oh, I love that. I learned to streamline my class. This is making me really happy. Okay. Do you guys want to know what your homework is for this last week? Some of you do. So I want you to plan a continuing education format that works best for your business, and I want you to post it in the group. So what are you going to do? What are you going to stick to? What does consistency look like for you? And post that, okay? That's what I want you guys to do. And then I was like, this is so silly. I forgot to write this part. I was like, now what? What next? And like, I was actually going to be like, okay, here are the things that we're going to do next. It's just blank. Okay, no, I know what we're going to do next. So what we're going to do next is keep working on the things that we're working on. I'm still implementing it all. You're still implementing it all. The Facebook group stays open. You can ask questions there, but the reality is most of the conversation is happening over in Fierce Leaders. So if you're not in that, or if that's not like a group that you're seeing on Facebook, go check it out. We've got, remember, as for our leader support, we do our best to offer things. We've got our Facebook group going. We've got our monthly leader calls tomorrow night. Emily is walking us through closing and how best to do it based on your strengths. Like me and my executing strengths with zero relational, I'm going to close very, very differently than a lot of people on this call. So come and learn how to feel more natural in what you're doing, right? We'll support you in that. We've got some other things that we're going to talk through, and it's just always short and helpful, okay? So we do those kinds of things once a month. So those are the kinds of things I want you to stay keyed into, and as I figure out maybe another round of Fab Feb when you all have leaders that want to know how to do this too, right? Like things like that as they come down the pipeline, you're going to be able to hear about that there, because I think there's for sure potential for that we would do something like this again, and that you might have somebody who's on here with you and you're showing up for them, learning how to do these kinds of things, okay? That's really what's next. Anything I'm missing? Does anybody else have any questions? Look at, I'm getting you out early on our last week. You must really love me. And like, nobody asked a question. Go everywhere with your workbook. That's my last piece of advice. Everywhere with your workbook. It's like in my back pocket. I like wish it was smaller. I'm always like, hold on, let me pull out my workbook. So I hope you're enjoying that resource, and please reach out if you need help or you feel stuck or you're like, this doesn't make sense and I need to hash it out. Then you need to reach out and ask for help, because we want to help you, okay? Yes, thanks, Lisa. I'm really enjoyed this time of Fab Feb. Let's just go care for more people, okay? Let's feel like we've got some new tools, okay? So your Sunday nights are back to you. Praise the Lord. Hallelujah. But I will miss this, all right? Bye, everybody.